Tom Selleck's story is one of hard work, perseverance, and unexpected challenges that shaped a man who went from being a struggling actor to one of television's most beloved stars, only to later face personal battles and deep regrets. He grew up in Los Angeles, studying business in college, never imagining he'd one day be one of Hollywood's biggest names. In 1987, at the height of his fame, he secretly got married under a fake name. The minister who married him didn't even know who he was. They forgot their marriage license and had to rush to fix it before dinner. That secret wedding, which seemed romantic at the time, was only the beginning of a much larger story filled with personal trials, controversies, and family struggles that would follow him for decades. Tom Selleck was born on January 29, 1945, in Detroit, Michigan. His mother, Martha, was a homemaker who cared for the family, and his father, Robert, worked as a real estate investor while also serving in the army during World War II, working on B-29 bombers. Tom was the second of 4 children, with his older brother Bob arriving a year earlier, and later 2 younger siblings, Martha and Daniel, completing the family. Life in Detroit was busy and loud, with factories everywhere, but in 1948, when Tom was just 3 years old, his father made a bold move that changed everything. Robert decided to move the family to California after taking a commission-only job with Coldwell Banker in Los Angeles. It was a major risk because it meant no guaranteed paycheck, only what he could earn through sales. The Sellecks settled in Sherman Oaks, which was still mostly farmland back then. Robert believed California offered better opportunities, and his gamble eventually paid off. By 1960, he was earning around $70,000 a year, nearly the same as the US president's salary at the time. But growing up in California wasn't easy for Tom. He was shy, tall, and awkward. By his teens, he stood 6 feet 4 inches tall, towering over his classmates. Though his height made him feel out of place, he soon discovered it could also be an advantage. He joined Grant High School's basketball team and quickly became one of their top players. He also played baseball and showed impressive discipline and coordination. However, life wasn't perfect. When Tom was 17, a terrifying event nearly ended his life. He was riding in his mother's red Chevy with 2 friends on the winding roads of Mulholland Drive when the car spun out of control, went airborne, and crashed. The accident was so severe that it later became the opening story in his 2024 memoir You Never Know. They all survived, but the near-death experience changed Tom completely. It made him more careful and gave him a deeper appreciation for life. Even though his father became successful later, the early years in California were financially tough. Tom had to work while going to school. During high school, he took a part-time job at a clothing store to help out, and he continued working there even when he began acting classes. To save money, he attended Valley Junior College instead of a more expensive university. His dream school had always been the University of Southern California, but they didn't offer him a scholarship at first. He even turned down a full basketball scholarship from Montana State because he wanted USC so badly. So, he worked and saved until he could afford to transfer in 1965. When he finally made it to USC, he joined the basketball team but wasn't a star player. In 7 games, he scored only 4 points, and the next season, none at all. Coaches said he was quick but needed better defense. His athletic dreams began to fade. As he studied business, he took on odd jobs, including working as a campus representative for United Airlines. Around that time, his fraternity brothers convinced him to appear on The Dating Game in 1965 and again in 1967. He lost both times, which left him embarrassed and doubting his charm. But that disappointment opened an unexpected door. A casting agent who saw the show offered him a small part in a Pepsi commercial. All he had to do was dunk a basketball on camera. He drank so much Pepsi during the shoot that he got sick, but the $1,000 paycheck from that ad changed his life. It led to his first professional acting opportunity with 20th Century Fox. Then, the Vietnam War arrived. In 1967, Tom received his draft notice. Rather than wait to be sent to combat, he joined the California National Guard's 160th Infantry Regiment, serving from 1967 to 1973. He worked his way up to sergeant and later became a second lieutenant after attending the California Military Academy. During his service, he even helped respond to the Watts riots in Los Angeles. However, his acting contract with Fox was terminated while he was serving. He kept his uniform in the trunk of his car, always ready for deployment, even while attending auditions. After returning home, Tom began studying acting more seriously at the Beverly Hills Playhouse under the famously harsh teacher Milton Katzelaars. The classes were intense, sometimes bordering on abusive. Katzelaars yelled at students and pushed them to extremes, even telling them to physically hurt themselves to feel emotion. Some described it as a cult-like environment, but Tom stuck it out, believing it would make him stronger. To support himself, he modeled for Salem cigarettes. His clean-cut looks and tall frame made him perfect for advertising, though he later regretted it when reporters criticized him for promoting smoking. Between 1965 and 1967, his dating game appearances haunted him. Losing twice on national TV hurt his confidence, and for a while, he questioned whether he belonged in Hollywood. In 1969, he finally landed a small role in the legal drama Judd for the Defense. But soon after, he was fired from another project simply because he was too tall. At 6 feet 4 inches, he made other actors look short on camera, and directors didn't know how to frame him in scenes. Being rejected for his height crushed him. 4 years, he took whatever small parts he could get, just to survive. Between 1974 and 1979, Tom appeared in the Rockford Files as Detective Lance White. It should have been a breakthrough role, but behind the scenes, he clashed with the show's star, James Garner. Tom wanted his character to feel grounded, while Garner wanted him to be comic relief. Their creative disagreements made filming difficult, but Tom learned a lot about the business during that time. In 1972, Tom took a risky role in a low-budget horror movie called Daughters of Satan, filmed in the Philippines. The conditions were dangerous. During a fire scene, special effects went wrong, and real flames came too close. Tom suffered minor burns, and his hair was singed. The production was chaotic, and communication problems made it worse. But Tom stayed professional and finished the movie despite being terrified. A few years later, he got a one-episode role in Charlie's Angels as a romantic interest, but he was fired after filming because his height made the actresses look too small. It was humiliating. Around that time, he was so broke that he owned only one suit, which he wore to every audition. Then came Magnum PI, the show that changed everything. When Tom first read the script, he hated it. The original version of the character was like a silly, macho James Bond copy with gadgets, hang gliders, and even machine guns. Tom told the producers he didn't want to play a stereotype. He wanted a character with humor and humanity. The producer, Donald Belisario, listened and rewrote the show. It became one of the most successful TV dramas of the 1980s, and Tom became an international star. But even as fame grew, his personal life was complicated. In 1984, while still married to Jacqueline Ray, he met a British actress and dancer named Gilly Mack. She was performing in Cats in London, and Tom was mesmerized by her. He saw the show more than 10 times just to watch her. Gilly didn't even know who he was because her TV had been stolen months earlier, and she had never seen Magnum PI. They began dating quietly, and when Tom divorced Jacqueline in 1982, rumors spread that Gilly was the reason. Those rumors followed them for years, even after they married. In 1980, just before Magnum PI made him famous, Tom was offered the role of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. Steven Spielberg and George Lucas both wanted him, but CBS refused to release him from his contract. Ironically, a production strike that year delayed Magnum for 6 months, the same time he could have filmed Raiders. Harrison Ford got the part instead, and the movie made history. Tom later admitted that missing that role hurt deeply. Tragedy struck during Magnum PI filming when a helicopter crash killed camera operator Robert Van der Kar. Tom was devastated and demanded major safety reforms, arguing with Universal Studios over costs. His persistence helped change how TV productions handled aerial stunts afterward. When Magnum PI ended in 1988, its finale drew over 50 million viewers, but the final years were tense. CBS wanted to cancel it early to save money, but Tom refused to compromise quality. He fought to protect the show's legacy until the very end. In 1987, his film 3 Men and a Baby became the biggest hit of the year, earning $167 million. A strange rumor followed. Viewers claimed to see a ghostly figure of a boy behind the curtains in one scene. Tom eventually explained that it was just a cardboard cutout of co-star Ted Danson from a deleted scene, but the myth persisted, and Disney never corrected it, knowing it boosted VHS sales. In 1990, Tom filmed Quigley Down Under in the Australian outback. It was a tough shoot with extreme heat and long days, but he loved the project and called it one of his proudest performances, even though it didn't make much money. Around the same time, he was considered for Batman in 1989 but turned it down, thinking superhero movies wouldn't succeed. Michael Keaton got the part, and the movie became a massive hit. Tom later admitted he regretted that decision. In 1992, he starred in Mr. Baseball, playing a fading American player sent to Japan. The movie was both funny and insightful, exploring cultural differences between American and Japanese sports. Though not a huge box office success, it became a respected film among baseball players and fans. Tom Selleck's life has been a journey of near misses, quiet strength, and hard lessons. From being too tall for roles, to losing out on Indiana Jones, to fighting TV executives to protect the quality of Magnum PI, he has lived a life filled with both triumph and heartbreak. By 2025, he would look back on it all with honesty, the fame, the losses, and the moments that shaped him into one of the most enduring figures in Hollywood history. Tom Selleck had built a long and respected career, but not every project turned out as planned. After years of success, one of his films underperformed at the box office. Critics said it felt messy and disorganized, marking his first major setback after a streak of hits. Then, in 1997, he took a surprising role in the romantic comedy In and Out, where he shared a 12-second on-screen kiss with Kevin Kline. That moment shocked many of his fans, especially since Tom had served on the NRA board and supported conservative campaigns. People questioned whether his role clashed with his personal beliefs, but Tom simply said that acting was just his job. "I make faces in front of a camera," he explained. "That doesn't make me Solomon." For him, it was about storytelling, not politics. Ironically, that kiss became a small but meaningful moment in Hollywood history. It helped open the door for more LGBTQ+ characters in mainstream films. Between 1995 and 2000, Tom appeared in 10 episodes of Friends as Monica's older boyfriend, Richard. Behind the scenes, he struggled a bit with Chandler's sarcastic humor and often asked Matthew Perry for advice. When Perry tried growing a mustache to match Tom's, the live audience burst into laughter. Later, when Tom's character joked, "Nice mustache. When puberty hits, it'll kick in," the cast couldn't stop laughing. In 1998, Tom attempted a television comeback with The Closer, but it didn't go well. Only 10 episodes aired before it was cancelled. The low ratings and poor reviews hit him hard, and he decided to step away from Hollywood for a while. He spent a full year on his 63-acre ranch, reflecting on what went wrong. He later said that time taught him humility and resilience. A new chapter began when Tom took on the role of Jesse Stone in a series of TV movies based on Robert B. Parker's novels. Between 2005 and 2015, he starred in 9 films and even co-wrote the later ones. The movies became quite popular with older audiences and regularly beat major network shows in ratings. But not everything went smoothly. Another writer accused Tom of stealing his ideas. The dispute was quietly settled out of court, and no one ever discussed it publicly. Despite that, the series continued until 2015. In 2006, Tom appeared on Boston Legal, but real-life tensions surfaced. As a member of the NRA board, his conservative background didn't sit well with the show's liberal cast and themes. Some castmates challenged his views during table reads, especially when the script addressed gun control. Tom later said those experiences made him rethink his role with the NRA, and by 2018, he stepped down from the board entirely. His 2004 performance in Ike, Countdown to D-Day, was widely praised. He filmed it in New Zealand, where long 18-hour days and immense pressure nearly broke him down. The strain also affected his marriage to Gilly Mack. He later admitted that playing General Eisenhower took an emotional and physical toll, blurring the line between his role and his real life. From 2010 to 2024, Tom starred as Frank Reagan in Blue Bloods, one of his most successful and long-running shows. At his peak, he earned $200,000 per episode, making him one of television's highest-paid actors. But in 2023, CBS asked the cast to take a 25% pay cut to keep the show running. Tom agreed, losing $1.2 million in salary, but despite his sacrifice, the show was eventually cancelled. He pleaded with CBS to reconsider, but the network didn't change its mind. When the series finale aired on December 13, 2024, Tom read a heartfelt poem that left the entire cast and crew in tears. By then, Tom's health was declining. In 2015, he injured his knee performing a stunt, and the pain lasted for years. By 2025, he had undergone surgery to replace both knees. Photos showed the long scars down his legs. He sometimes needed help walking and leaned on his truck for support during filming. Still, he insisted on working. The family dinner scenes on Blue Bloods, a fan favorite, were actually his idea. He wanted those moments to reflect the warmth and togetherness of his own family. Behind the scenes, Tom sometimes clashed with writers over storylines he thought were too politically driven. Cast members also joked about avoiding eating too much during dinner scenes. Vanessa Ray once accidentally ate 17 rolls while filming. Tom, on the other hand, would just butter his and leave it at that. When COVID-19 hit in 2020, production stopped, and Tom, now 75, stayed on his ranch. He began to feel the full weight of aging, pain, exhaustion, and fear of losing the energy he once had. In his 2024 memoir You Never Know, he opened up about his depression, worsening arthritis, and how difficult it had become to keep working. Still, he showed up for every shoot, refusing to give up. Tom's personal life had also seen ups and downs. He married Jacqueline Ray in 1971, a model who supported him long before he was famous. For over a decade, she stood by him through years of struggle and financial hardship. But when Magnum PI made him a star in the early 1980s, fame changed everything. Jacqueline began to feel left behind as she watched him on TV surrounded by adoring fans and women in Hawaii. She felt the man she had sacrificed so much for was slipping away. They divorced in 1982, and she received 3 years of support, a car, and a house. In 1987, Tom secretly married British dancer Gilly Mack, whom he had admired since seeing her perform in Cats in 1983. Their wedding at Lake Tahoe was kept completely private. Using fake names, Tom Jenkins and Susie Mark, they even forgot their marriage license and had to send someone racing to Reno to fix it before dinner. Only close family attended, and no media were allowed. The marriage wasn't easy at first. Tom's demanding work schedule nearly tore them apart, and they eventually sought counseling. In 1988, their daughter Hannah was born on the family's 63-acre avocado ranch in Ventura County. At first, it felt like paradise, but Tom later admitted that isolation took a toll. He had left Magnum PI because he felt disconnected from real life. He wanted time with his family, but work kept calling. Hannah spent much of her childhood alone, surrounded by animals rather than friends. Horses became her safe space and passion. Tom also adopted Jacqueline's son, Kevin, who was 21 at the time. Kevin's life, however, was troubled. He began drinking heavily in his 20s, and Tom eventually sent him to rehab at the Betty Ford Center. Even afterward, Kevin faced financial struggles and was once sued for unpaid credit card debt. Despite all of Tom's help, financial support, guidance, and patience, Kevin had a difficult time finding direction. Over time, he recovered, married, and had 6 children, but the emotional scars remained. The ranch that once symbolized peace soon became a source of stress. Tom had purchased it from Dean Martin in 1988 for $5 million, but in 2015, he was accused of stealing 1.4 million gallons of water during a severe drought. Investigators claimed that water trucks had repeatedly taken water from a public hydrant 8 miles away. Tom paid over $21,000 to settle the case, and the issue quietly went away. However, by 2023, most of his 2,500 avocado trees had died from drought, along with 25 ancient oak trees. Tom admitted that the loss devastated him. He had once joked that he didn't even like avocados, he just sold them, but by 2023, the business had completely collapsed. Then came another blow, the cancellation of Blue Bloods. Despite earning millions from the show, Tom said in interviews that he wasn't sure if he could afford to maintain the ranch without steady work. The property, now worth around $12 million, had been refinanced multiple times, with loans totaling as much as $16 million. As his health worsened in 2025, Tom's once strong frame seemed to crumble. Friends said he looked tired, heavier, and unwell. Once an active man who rode ATVs across his land, he now struggled to walk. Years of arthritis and surgery had left deep scars on his knees. The steroids prescribed for his condition increased his appetite, and combined with depression, it led to significant weight gain. At 6'4", he reportedly reached around 350 pounds. Doctors warned he was at high risk for heart disease and diabetes. Even as his body weakened, Tom refused to retire. Acting was his lifeline. He admitted that the idea of retirement frightened him. His wife, Gilly, supported him but worried about his health. Tom's love for his ranch kept him going. He said he worked not for fame or money anymore, but simply to hold on to the land he cherished. In 2024, he released his memoir You Never Know, co-written with Ellis Henican. The book became an instant bestseller. For the first time, Tom shared everything: his childhood, early struggles, wild Hollywood stories, and deep regrets. Fans loved his honesty and vulnerability. CBS later announced a Blue Blood spin-off called Boston Blue, starring Donnie Wahlberg. Tom hoped to appear in it, maybe as a mentor or a symbolic figure. But insiders said his health might prevent it. He needed help just to move around, and the studio didn't want to risk the strain on him. Wahlberg hinted that there could be cameo appearances, but nothing was confirmed. By 2026, those close to Tom believed he might finally step away from acting. His mind was still sharp, but his body was failing. The ranch that had once given him peace now felt like a heavy responsibility. The man who had once been one of Hollywood's most confident and charming stars was now simply trying to hold on to his home, his health, and his sense of purpose. Friends said that if Tom ever disappeared from public life, it wouldn't be out of sadness or shame. It would be because he wanted to find peace away from Hollywood's glare. Just Tom, Jilly, and a quiet ranch full of memories, stretching across 63 acres of silence, where a lifetime of success, pain, and love would finally come to rest.